Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm TyJon Charlie. Lots of stuff to talk about. It's been almost a month. I've had some staggering weeks of shows and some other stuff that's been going on kind of personally that has made it a little bit more of a challenge to get these recorded, and just like the overwhelming nature of taking a few weeks off. You know, you get so many shows kind of backed up that you had to go back and talk about, and then it kind of seems like a little bit more of a daunting task. There's nobody over my shoulder like saying, oh, you need to get these done, but I still feel it, you know. I don't know why I put the pressure on myself, but anyhow, so we're going back to the very beginning of September 1st. Looks like I was at Golden Fox Brewing in Decatur, and that weekend, you know, I was looking forward to it. It was Labor Day weekend, and we had the Tabapalooza that Sunday, so I was like, or no, that was Saturday, and we were excited about going and doing that, and then we did end up and go and shoot a video on Sunday, but I'll get into that when I get there. So Golden Fox, it was a really fun show. It was outside on the big stage, which is always kind of overwhelming sound-wise to have to do it, but I think I've kind of cracked the code to an extent on how to maybe do that with the gear that I have. Of course, if I had different gear, it would change everything infinitely. There's no real right 100% of the time answer, but so anyway, I feel like it sounded pretty decent. It was outside. It wasn't a big turnout, but the 15 people that were there seemed to enjoy it. I had a good time, and I was like trying to get ready for the Tabapalooza, and I was like, oh, if I sound this good tonight, I can't wait for tomorrow. And that's usually, you know, the first sign of a downfall of sorts, I suppose. But so the next night, it was me, Ryan, Wolf, and Lowe, and Ryan had a set at 2, and we thought we left early enough, but our phones all, well, I had it plugged into mine, and I just did what it told me to from the Facebook event, and turns out that was not the right answer. So we drove about 40 minutes out of the way, had to backtrack 20 minutes out of the way, but then backtrack the 20 minutes to make it 40, and then we all put it into our phones, and it all came up as like a different location for each person. So I played this thing like 6 or 7 years or something crazy, and I've really never had that problem as far as getting there. But yeah, I don't know. We were all excited. I think Wolf was a little on the nervous side. He had a 2 o'clock set, and then of course, you know, I'm running late, and he ends up starts probably 2:10. So I mean, we got there and with enough time. Everything seemed like it was running behind a little bit anyway, and I don't know. It was, but we got him there, and he sounded pretty good. I think he played a solid set, and I ended up kind of running sound a lot of or helping with sound. I shouldn't say running, but you know, Mike Tab, the guy who put him and Jenny put it on, and he's kind of the sound guy for the day. He seemed like he was kind of frustrated with it, and he does it all with an iPad. I think it's like a Behringer X17, where it's just like the snake, and then you control it with the iPad, which I'm not very familiar with at all. I've used it like a couple times at a couple of the places I played in Indiana, but a little confusing to me. I'm an analog guy mostly, so when I do sound that way, I feel a little bit more confident. But anyhow, it was took me a long time to even figure out like what was going on at all with it, like even how to use it even slightly. And Mike kind of helped me through it a little bit, but you know, I wasn't really there to do sound necessarily, and I don't really kind of unfamiliar with that. But I ended up doing a couple bands, helping them try to sound good. There's just too many bells and whistles on that stuff that like I just don't even know what it does. But that, you know, took up a majority of the time until it was time for me to start setting up my stuff. And I kind of set my stuff off. Like, they have a really nice big main stage, but I always set my stuff off to the side. And they have like a deck that's pretty, they kind of run an open mic on it before I get there. But yeah, so I mean, it was like 2 hours till I played. And Sapphire, they're a band that has headlined it a few times as well. And they were the last set, so it was kind of cool to hear them and try to help with the sound while I'm, you know, simultaneously setting all my gear up. And, you know, I put a lot of work and time and effort But this kind of always happens every year. It's like by the time I play, everybody's pretty much worn out and ready to go to bed because there's a lot of campers and tents and stuff. So, I'm playing for 20, 30 people at the very end of the night, and it's fun. My voice was kind of iffy. Like I kept going hoarse, kept forgetting lyrics too. And I mean, I played through. It was fine. It just wasn't like I felt like I sounded so much more solid the night before. And I don't know. It's just a long day in general. But it's always cool that they do something like that. Try to support some local people and some small time people like me that don't get a chance to get on bigger stages in front of more people. I mean, it's just a cool idea in general, the concept of it. And so I always do what I can to support it. And those guys are just super nice to me, always very generous with their time and their listening and stuff. They listen to the music. It's very, very kind and say nice things and all that. So, but yeah, I mean, by the time I play, it's like nobody's gonna remember this set anyway, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot. So I just kind of did what I felt like playing and had as much fun with it as I could. And then you end up tearing down. It takes like an hour, hour and a half. I brought too much stuff. I always do that, but it is kind of nice to be able, because if I played the spot and played on the main stage, it would take me like an hour after the last band gets done getting their stuff off the stage to even start, because I had to get all my stuff kind of set up and moving, maybe 40 minutes if I really push it. But it's like I lose most of the audience at that point because it's like everybody would definitely be in bed by that time. I mean, people have been there all day drinking. A lot of them were there on Friday too. So, but yeah, so that was Tabapalooza. It was an experience. I don't think it was the best one I feel like I've ever done, both performance and audience reception wise. But you'll win some, you'll lose some. That's kind of how it goes. The night before kind of is what I was leaning on that day. And then that Sunday, Ryan Wolf and I went up to Michigan, a place I used to go all the time as a kid, and recorded a music video for Thought of You on the Beach. And he had a bunch of ideas. I pretty much just held the camera and did what he told me, because I don't know if I have the good eye for that sort of thing. I mean, I had a couple inputs on things, I guess, but mostly it was just me shooting video of him. And it was, we used to go to this beach, Silver Beach, and across the bridge, there's another beach on that side. I can't, its name is slipping on me. When I was a kid all the time, and so I had to have an excuse to go up there. It was, I was happy to do it, to have an excuse to go up there, and it was a fun day. It was long. We worked the whole time. It wasn't like we just hung out and did fun stuff, but it was, I guess, a little nostalgic for me ultimately, which, comes to this next weekend and hit a little differently, I guess, because so next weekend was Lo's birthday, and I usually take that off every year, just do whatever she wants. On her birthday, we went out to eat with my mom, and I got the news kind of later that my dad had passed away. So I guess that's kind of adds to why I haven't really been posting stuff quite as much. And it is unbelievable the amount of extra stuff that is expected of you when that happens. Because I mean, there was no like, he didn't make it easy, I guess is what I'm getting at. I don't know how to do anything. I'm pretty much a large human baby when it comes to adulting. I barely scrape it, should be called an adult, I think. But anyway, none of it was set up or anything, and obviously just super sad. And I don't know, we had a pretty complicated relationship, I would say. So I mean, I don't know if that helped or hurt things, but he's kind of a younger man. I mean, he's 65. I mean, he's old enough, I guess, but just didn't quite expect it to happen so suddenly. But he lived his life like a rock star, kind of. I mean, he definitely was a lot of alcohol involved, but just kind of a weird mindset. And like I found out about it on Lo's birthday, which was an extra kind of punch in the stomach for her, I'm guessing. But needless to say, we did not do a whole lot the rest of I don't know that we would have necessarily, but it was a long, weird weekend and sad, obviously. And I don't know. I get in this mindset of like I need to do more, but then I am doing more to kind of wrap all that stuff up and figure out, mainly it was his apartment. He had so much stuff there that just needed to be cleaned out and kind of organized, and then you have to figure out like what you want to do with the body, what you want to do with the funeral, what you want a ceremony, do you want an obituary, like all these things that cost money, one, and two, time. And so I'm doing some of this stuff as extra and not getting to the things I normally do, and then just I feel bad about the him passing, and then I feel bad about not getting stuff done, and it's just been kind of a long, weird, rough month for me. And then since I didn't book shows this weekend because I was taking off, I'm a pretty hard booking shows at the end of the month. And I mean, the second to last weekend, I had 6 shows in 5 days, and then I had 5 shows in 4 days. And, I'm just exhausted with everything else. And that, prolongs me getting other stuff I need to be focused on done. I got a couple of new students in the same time. It's just been so overwhelming in a lot of ways. And I don't know. It's a lot to deal with. I don't really know how you're supposed to feel or act or answer the questions that you get asked a lot when it comes to this sort of thing. Just kind of, just sad. But it's how it goes. I mean, it's inevitable. We're all going to end up in that same chair, like, and, I just try not to think about it, I guess. Or if you're me, you think about it constantly. But, I mean, that's like the main subject matter, I'd say, to a good portion of my songs would be, looking death in the face, kind of. We shy away from it so much and don't talk about it, hushed voices. And it's the only thing in this kind of life that you can be sure of for sure one day that you're going to ticket will get punched. You will clock out for the last time, You don't know when that's going to be. And yeah, I just think that is crazy, that we should be like maybe something that we think about and talk about more, but for some reason we are all either blissfully don't want to know about it, don't want to think about it, and just kind of put it completely out of your mind. Or it's like, I think some people, like, it just eats at them in the back of their head a little bit, but try not to look it in the face. And then for me, it just like plagues my whole existence, and I think about it constantly. And then of course something like this happens, and you have to look at it even more in the face. And it's a weird thing to think about. One day you're not going to be here, and part of that makes you want to work really hard to do more and accomplish more. But then there's another part of it that's like, it's all going to be dust anyway. Like, what is the point of all of that? I don't really know. And though that thought is there, I tend to lean the other way, the way of like, I need to get more stuff done. I need to do things. I need to put stuff out. I need to create things. And that's a more exciting life, maybe, but it's also can be a stressful, for me, I just always feel so behind, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's just born in my DNA or something that was like nurtured into my spirit, but it's the feeling of never accomplishing enough things. And then of course I have a high expectation. I mean, maybe if my expectation for the things I was trying to do was lower, I would get more things done and be closer to where the answer is. But I want, I'm working on one of my newer songs, Premonition Man, and it's pretty well done, but I took a really long time on it. And it's like, did I need to take that much time? Could I have put it out and then got something else going? I don't know. It's like, I want to be happy with it. But then it's like I'm overly picky. So, I want to fix the things, get them recorded better, then they were currently, or mix better, or we turn that down just a little, all those little tiny adjustments to make it, feel perfect. And then you wait 2 months and you re-listen and you don't notice any of the stuff that you were even so hung up about. I mean, recording in general is hard. And that, I think, happens to like a micro version when you're putting out like this short form content. Because I don't really, this isn't short term, but the clips I get from this will be short term and will be shorter for sure. And short form content. I couldn't think of that for a second. And been trying to put out a clip 4 or 5 days a week of like live music or podcast clip or something. And you can't be as picky as that, but why would you be? But then if I was, maybe they would get more views. It's just like such a balancing act. But it's a good way to pass the time, I guess. I don't know what else I would do if I just was like, I don't like the idea of being bored. It's like if I'm bored, and I think boredom comes from being also tired. Like there's been a lot of days where I've been too tired to really accomplish more things like musically that I would like, because doing other stuff, cleaning out that apartment or whatever. And it's like you get home from working hard and you're just like, I'm bored, but you don't have the energy to do anything that's truly productive or going to yield any beneficial results, I guess. But I don't know. It's just the whole question of just existence is so weird. Like, why am I here? Well, you choose what you are focused on and you kind of make your own choice. But then it's like, well, why do I choose to care so much about things that ultimately probably don't matter that much and get stressed about it? I don't know. But I wish I was just one of those people that just like there for the good times. And, I think I know a couple of those people, but when you really dig deeper, is it really that peaceful? I don't know. Of course, I'd be the last person to know. Just the ghost. But anyway, so it's kind of tripped me up in a lot more ways than one, I'd say. My dad passing and has made it a little bit more challenging to do the things that I normally do mentally for some reason, like wrapping my head around simple things. Just, it's been a little bit harder, but it's, a nice distraction as well when I actually do get to do them. But I don't know. I'm always wrapped up in something. It's either that or this, and not a lot of downtime. But anyway, so that was the weekend of the 8th. No shows. Obviously, big life event. I had a show at the Mystic Kitchen the following Wednesday, and I was outside. Pretty fun one, but I didn't feel strong in the vocal. I was I had a table of one of my students and her husband and all their friends. They probably had 6 extra people with them. They came out, which was super kind of them, although I do always wish that I sounded a little better when people actually come out to see me, and I just don't quite have it that night, I ended up took out my in-ear, like kind of towards the end. Felt a lot easier to sing. It's just like, why can't I do something the same every time? Use my in-ears. It was outdoor even, so it really shouldn't have affected too much, but I got to the end. I felt like my voice was hoarse. I don't know how I was singing, kind of maybe differently than I normally do. I took it out and I felt like I could sing a lot better, but I'd already like ruined the paycheck of because with singing, it's like you have a paycheck. You can only spend so much with your voice. So after a certain, especially if you're using it improperly, if you're singing in maybe not enough support or in your throat too much, or I can even feel it today. I just I don't know if that's the in-ears. Maybe that's the problem. It's like my form gets a little lazier or something because I can hear myself so well that I don't feel like I have to try and like sing very properly. But anyway, it's just confusing because it's like, you think you have it figured out, and right when you do, you never do. There's no there's no easy every time button. I wish there was. And maybe for other people there are, but for me it's always like, do it this way. There was a long time where I was just use the JBL as the monitor and just push the vocals extra hard and try to sing like with good mic position. When I'm loud, back up and use that as my only monitor. But then I used the in-ears once and I'm like, ooh, this is the way to do it. This is way easier. And then I have a couple bad shows. I'm like, was it even that made the shows bad? I don't know. Mostly it's probably just my brain that makes things that way, but just how I perceive them as bad, I mean. But anyhow, so this one, Kevin and Kendall, my old bass player, and his wife came out. That was very cool. Ryan and Lo came out towards the end. It was outside. It was a nice night, and it was like in the street downtown. So, I didn't sound the worst ever, but I would have wanted to sound better. But I don't think there are many shows where I'm like, oh, that was the one. We'll see. We'll see as I go through these. If I get to one of these shows where I was like, ooh, that was the one. But anyway, so that was the Mystic Kitchen. And then I played the Night Shop the next night, kind of the last minute, needed an opener set. Pretty slow night though. Pretty much just and there were some technical difficulties, so I pretty much did a 25-minute set of all originals. And for 4 people or whatever that were there, but I was just kind of killing time. And it's nice to have an avenue or a place in town that supports local original music. So anytime I get a chance, I always try to kind of jump on that. There were a few other bands, and they were both actually really good. I played with Electric Blue Yonder and Joel Cragg and the Filaments. And they were both pretty cool. The Joel Cragg and the Filaments, they kind of a blues rock kind of thing. It was really good guitar playing and stuff. And then the Electric Blue Yonder, they had like a standing bass player, and they were doing a lot of harmonies, like 2 and 3 part, I feel like sometimes. And they just sounded really nice. They were interesting to watch too. So it was but overall there was a big show at the Castle, I think, and that kind of took away from it was Thursday night draw. But anyhow, so that would have been that Thursday. Kind of not too exciting for me necessarily, just because I wasn't playing for a whole lot of people, but it's good just to be on stage and try to play that way and that in a different setting. Friday I was in Indianapolis at the Chili Water Brewing Company. That one was kind of started off slow. Like there were people there eating, finishing dinner, and there was like probably 40 minutes of there being like nobody. I was like, well, I guess I'll take a break. As soon as I took a break, there was like a pretty big table that came from outside to inside, and they hung out all night. They were calling out bands to play, cover, and saying super nice things, and that kind of drew some other people in. It ended up being a really fun night. Something kind of weird that happened also that night is I was outside on this beer garden right next to the street, and I heard, I saw this girl kind of cruise by on it, because they have these bikes that you can just put like a quarter, I don't know, public transportation, I don't really know how it works, but you can just grab this, it's a scooter, and she was cruising pretty good, and I was like putting my stuff away, and all of a sudden I heard a huge crash, and I look over, and she had gotten hit by a car, not even 20 feet away from me pretty much. And I peek around the corner. There was already people kind of running there, but I was like, somebody should probably call 911. And I kind of, it seemed like she was actually fine. Of course, she had a friend that came that was just crying her eyes out. And, they were trying to explain, she's making jokes, so like she's fine, she'll be okay. But the girl couldn't really, I don't know if she saw it or what, but it was loud, I'll say that. And then I kind of lucked out with my parking too, because they blocked off the road in every way but the place I could leave. So that was lucked out for sure. And I mean, it was just overall a pretty good night. I mean, nothing really bad to say. It was just kind of at first was like, I drove this far to play for nobody, but it turned out it was a fun night. And just having a little bit of positivity in the crowd just makes so much of a difference. Even if it's not a big crowd, it doesn't matter how big, as long as they're there and they're in it, enjoying it. But anyway, so, and then I had a couple weird things happen too on the way home. I had tried to pay for gas a couple times. I had this $10 bill that was pretty tattered, and I had 2 different gas stations turn it down. I was like, so it was so strange, because I got back to Bloomington and took it right away. But it was just so weird to be like, I can't take this. And I was like, why? And they were like, they didn't really have a good excuse. They just said it won't work or something. But I don't know, they thought I was trying to counterfeit $10 bills or something. But it was just kind of funny more than anything. But yeah, so that was Chilly Water. Thursday, or the Saturday after that, I had 2 shows. I had 10 to 12 at the night, or in Decatur, at it's called the Mercy Market, kind of a farmer's market type thing. And I kind of pushed off arriving. I was a little bit late on my arrival, but the last time I did it, I just played completely unplugged, so it's like I don't really have much. And then I got there and they asked if I would set up the sound gear, so I was like, yeah, but it's gonna set back the time probably a little bit, because nobody mentioned that to me the last time. I said it was loud enough and everything, so I was like, okay, well. And there was a big event going on down the block, so I think maybe they were thinking that if it was louder, it'd draw people more over to the area I was playing. But other than that, though, morning shows are always hard. You probably hear me say that a bunch on this, but just trying to get my voice to cooperate. So my whole attitude was, just play easy as possible and make it easy on yourself ultimately. But when you play just acoustic, and I did do the foot drums, but you can't fill as much time as easily, because if I'm playing the foot drums like full setup, I can extend jams and solos and have some instrumental parts that are extended, whereas when it's just acoustics plugged straight in, you kind of lose out a little bit on that. But overall, I think it sounded good, and I think I got another show in November at a different place in Decatur out of it. So overall, a total win, I would say. And then I was up 2 hours north at the Quarry Ballroom again, and this show was it was a little weird because it was very busy when I got there, and I guess there's this rugby team, and so usually when I get to a show and I'm doing a 3-hour set, I it's kind of slow in the beginning, and I kind of ease into my set a little bit. So this was not like that, because one of the guys that owns it telling everybody how awesome I was and how they really need to come in and listen. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I'm using their sound, not mine. That's kind of like part of the deal with, their space, is they have like a sound system all set up. They have a nice stage, very music forward, which is great, which is what I mainly talked about, I think, the last time I was talking about this show. And so it's like all eyes on me right away. I was using my in-ears. I thought it sounded okay, but my voice just wasn't maybe that morning show wasn't totally cooperating with me. And, I felt a little more nervous, and like I had to get I felt a little more nervous, and like I had to get to the good songs more quickly than maybe I would, like the pop songs that I cover. So I was doing some stuff maybe that I wasn't quite as warmed up enough to be doing. And, I thought I had the morning show, so I'd be fine. But it did feel a little rougher. Probably should have just taken the in-ears out, but kept them in. And, overall, the crowd that was there was pretty into what I was doing. There was a couple weird moments, though, where it was like they really wanted me to play Morgan Wallen. Well, I'd been working on this song. It's not a Morgan Wallen, I don't know how you say his name, song. It's a cover that he does. And the band, the guy that originally wrote and performed the song, Jason Isbell, I like him a lot. So I feel like I was, 'cause that song "Cover Me Up" by the Morgan Wallen version was on the radio for a while. So I was like, I kind of am doing, mixing a thing I like a lot with a song that should appease people who like, because I get that request all the time, and I haven't really learned of any of his other songs because they don't really jump out at me as something I super enjoy. I don't know, nothing against anybody who does. It's not my cup of tea necessarily. And so I thought this is like a nice bridge, but it didn't really, I just learned it too. The first time I played it live, and it was like, I feel like two out of all the rest of the people, two people probably knew the song and were kind of singing along. But, I thought it was going to scratch that itch that it just didn't quite succeed. And then, of course, I didn't play it super amazingly. I warned them that, I'd just been working on it. It's not like a proper in the set type song, even though I've been trying to do it more to make it one of those lately. But yeah, so, I don't know. And so there are a couple weird moments, but overall, just crowd was, they really like, cover pop type stuff. And they were kind of talking back and forth with me a little bit, giving me shit here and there. And that was kind of fun. Because, if they're talking shit, they're paying attention at least. And you can kind of give it back to them a little bit. But it just wasn't like a set of all original music. I tried to sneak a few in there, but it didn't seem like they were having much of that. But when I would play like the big pop songs, they were all in singing and everything. So I pretty much just stuck to that, which isn't my most ideal show, but it was still a fun night. And I was pretty beat after that. And then I had a Sunday show in Decatur. So it's just like, this is the 6 shows in 5 days week, so I was feeling it pretty hard. And I decided to do a super simple setup in Decatur as well, because I'd done it, I was in Decatur the morning before, and I was outdoor, and I just used the JBL, just straight mic, straight guitar, no foot percussion mics or anything. And so it's like 12 p.m. on a Sunday, not a big crowd. I'm like, I'm just gonna try it, it's a little less stressful, because I do too much sometimes, and getting up early to get there early to play loud for people who I don't know they want to hear loud music at 12 p.m. on a Sunday, at least not right away for the brunch. I thought, so my theory was, okay, well, I'm gonna do a really light setup and kind of draw people in. But it was, the first hour and a half was pretty dead. There was like 2 tables that, I don't know, were barely paying attention to what I was doing. But, as most shows go, eventually more people showed up. I was kind of worried the whole night, the whole afternoon rather, would have been, would be like that, would be like just nobody. And then, you kind of feel bad for charging the bar money for having you. But anyway, it was turned up probably double the people, and one big table that was sitting right in front that was, halfway engaged, and played to them for the rest of the time. There were a couple of little tables that seemed to be paying attention kind of as the night or as the day wore on, and it was fine. I mean, it wasn't an amazing show, but I was pretty exhausted at this point with everything going on mentally and then physically, and trying to get full days to go to that apartment, clean it out, and then have all these shows and make phone calls. And I don't know, it just was a lot. And so I was ready kind of for the weekend to be over, but I had booked out Monday for a bunch of recording time over at Bombsight here in town, or right a few blocks from where I'm at, and then Eclipse. So it was like a double recording session day, which with the Bombsight, I really didn't have much to do. I recorded some drums on the last round, and so it was like tighten those up maybe, or like decide what to do with them exactly. And that was it. Export them the right way. And then Eclipse, I was there for 4 hours and full mix and mastering session, no actual tracking, and we got really, really close to getting it done. I got to go one last time, just half hour probably, just a couple things I've noticed in the mix that I just need to work on a little bit, more volume wise and stuff than anything. And then so the Bombsight Premonition Man, that song is done. So that's why I'm wearing this outfit actually is today. I went and tried to shoot a picture, get a picture to release it as a single. Looking at probably Halloween for that if I can get that all sussed out the right way, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't want to be too tied to the date because then it stresses me out to try to. I mean, all I'm waiting on is a good picture, and Wolf's kind of helping me out. Lowe's helped me out a little bit with some stuff with that, but I don't know. Just sitting on my hands about it for too long, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, if I'm going to decide I wanted to do it on October 31st, I got to do it a month in advance. Well, you know, we're about at a month, right? Today is the 2nd, so I mean, if I can get it released tonight, I'll probably stick to that. But if not, you know, I might just push it back. But I do think that some of the themes of the song and the video we want to shoot for it, Wolf wants to help me with, I think would kind of be very Halloween very Halloween-ish in a way. So if we can make that happen, it'd be cool. And I'm going in this Thursday, the 6th, to finish up Wings. Like I said, I got about a half hour mixing to do. So just stop in there. I do have a show later, but just stop in there, get that done. And then I'm sitting on 2 of my next singles completely ready to rock. Of course, I need a picture for Wings too. You know, with every single, you got to have like some digital art, and you want it to be kind of eye-catching and kind of maybe go along with the theme of the song, or maybe not, maybe just something that catches your eye. I don't know. It's one of those things. Like an album cover is like you have to spend you want it to look amazing, and because you know it's the only thing people are going to see for all 9, 10, 15 tracks, whatever your track count is. They're going to see that image every time. Singles, I feel like, are a little bit less important, but you know, you still want it to look cool. And if you don't have anything, I don't know, it just frustrates me. Like I don't know, just more stuff that I wish that I didn't necessarily have to do. But you know, it can be fun. It can be. We had a cool idea for it, and kind of there's a whole concept for this whole song, I think, that is kind of on the periphery. It's not really what the song's about or anything, but like the imagery I kind of want to associate with the song. So that stuff's kind of fun to think about. And I think I was just getting frustrated because of the deadline, but we'll see if we get it out. But it should be, hopefully tonight, I should be putting the release date and the dotting the T's and crossing the I's to get it released. But yeah, so that Monday was super busy, and then it was like back into the regular grind of the week. Monday's usually like my Sunday, but not so much. And then I had a Thursday show at the local tap. I played indoor. It was rainy out. I haven't had a chance to play on that patio since the first time I played there, and that time it was like freezing out, so nobody wanted to sit outside except the Zach Bryan fans. They sat out, and I let one of the kids come up, and that was the first time I ever really heard of Zach Bryan beyond him coming up on my Spotify randomly a few times. But yeah, so it was a pretty slow night still. I think the rain kind of detoured people. You know, if you can sit out on that nice patio that I wanted to play on, I think more people probably would have showed up. Wasn't completely slow, but there was a couple tables there at the end I was trying to keep there. So I think I did like a 40-minute medley mashup of a bunch of tunes back to back, all pop tunes and stuff. And that Friday I was at the 12 bar in Peoria, and that was a pretty fun show. I think it sounded pretty good. Just kind of got there, did my thing, and left. I don't think there was anything too exciting necessarily, but was you know, getting up that elevator for the 3 stories and then taking all your gear across the bar. A little daunting sometimes, but you know, once you're up there, you're on the rooftop, and it's kind of a nice night, and I don't know. I feel like it's always like I'm very background music there, which is fine, but it's just a different vibe. You know, sometimes when I don't know that's if I knew it going in, I would have a different set maybe in mind, but you know, I'm trying to do all these hook songs to like reel people in, and it works to an extent. You know, there are some times where a big group of people get really into it, but when you're just like the background, and I did kind of towards the end of the set, I did kind of grab a few extra people from some of the poppy medleys I do and stuff, but it was a lot of just me playing to play, and that can be fun in a different way, as I always say. And then the next morning, you know, the driving to O'Fallon, which is near St. Louis, for the 9 a.m. show. And I did a really light setup, kind of like how I'd been doing it, like I did in Decatur the last weekend for the Saturday morning and Sunday brunch show. Because I think even last time I played there, they asked if I could turn it down at a certain point. So it's like, why am I doing all this work if they just want it to be quiet? So it's a theory. I don't know if it's a good one, but 3-hour set there, and then hightailed it to Springfield for a really nice night. I went to a music store before and I bought a bunch of stuff I'd been kind of put on the back burner. I hadn't been to a music shop like physically in a while, and I ended up and bought a new cajon, which was, you know, the drum I sit on and play as a kick drum. I think it's better. I think it sounds nicer. And I sit up a little taller and a little, you know, I feel like it helps with my posture a little bit. And it wasn't very expensive either, but I don't know. I had some extra money just because I'd been playing so many shows. So I was like, I want to give myself a little treat. So I decided that was it. Didn't buy a new guitar. I did inherit a guitar, kind of a weird side story, I guess. But my dad, when he was in maybe middle school, high school, thought he was going to learn to play guitar, got a guitar, didn't follow through with it, and then gave it to one of his best friends who, you know, after he passed this month, still had it and knew that I was a musician. So super John Johnson, super nice of him to give that guitar a new home, a new life. I've dressed it up all weird. It's one of my experimental guitars. It's a Harmony. It was, you know, probably from the 70s, but kind of an entry level, no truss rod or anything like that. So I was just like, well, let's see if we can make it kind of its own thing. And I put some flat wounds on it and muted the bridge quite a bit. I put some mutes on the strings, and yeah, it sounds weird. It sounds kind of like when you pick a violin or viola, like the pizzicato sound, because the flat wound mixed with the mute. I think it has that. And it kind of sounds like a ukulele to an extent too, because the strings are very tight and muted, so they're not very loud. It almost sounds nylon-y, but I don't know. Anyway, sorry to get off topic, but that is something kind of interesting, I guess. It's a nice guitar to play at night when people are asleep, because it's so quiet that you don't really have to worry about waking people up. You can kind of play it hard and it's not very loud. But so Boone, Springfield, so I went to the music shop, got a bunch of that stuff. And so I played with that cajon for the first night. Like I said, I think it was a good choice. Wasn't a busy night, but there were a few tables throughout the night that were very generous with their attention and time. And I felt really worn out for that show. The one on Sunday, that weekend at Jamie's Outpost, I feel like I got kind of a new wind for, and I felt pretty good overall. I feel like it was one of my better shows, and I streamed a lot of it. Towards the end, I was getting a little experimental, we'll say. But there were, you know, throughout the day, there was like these crews of big motorcycle, because it's by Starved Rock, and there's a bunch of hills in that area. So I think a lot of motorcycle people love to ride, and it's kind of a biker bar. So, you know, you get these big rotations of 15 people all at once come in. They come kind of eat a little bit, and they're off to the next place. So, you know, I was kind of playing more of my straight up stuff. And then towards the end, there was just a couple people around like 6:30, or no, it was 5:30, because I played till 2 to 6. 4-hour set on this to put a period on that weekend. And it was, you know, pretty daunting ultimately. But it was a good day. I mean, I felt solid performance-wise. And So I was feeling a little bit more ballsy, I guess, at the end. It's some newer stuff. They requested some Dave Matthews, which, of course, I'm a big fan. So I have and since there's only a couple people, I did a medley. I did Lie in Her Graves, into Trippin' Billies, into 41, into Ants Marching. Ants Marching is usually the one that I normally do, but even if the crowd isn't necessarily, because I feel like that's the one that everybody kind of knows, even if you're not a Dave fan. It's kind of a fun, I don't know. I've used that show as an ender on occasion, or like an encore song when people, I do Misery a lot to end my original, and it's like if people want more at the end, I like that song at the end because it's kind of jammy. There's some couple spots where I do some kind of pseudo jam, kind of similar to the full band arrangement, but obviously not even close. But just the one man band, because you just don't have enough instruments, and I'm not nearly that talented. But it's not a hard song to sing. So if my voice has kind of gone out, it's an upbeat, kind of jammy song to end on. But anyhow, so there was the Dave fan, and then end up talking to those people a little bit after, and it was just kind of nice to meet some fellow travelers that were into music, and they seemed to enjoy what I was doing, and it was just a good overall day. And then this last weekend, so we're finally to the current weekend. I appreciate anybody who's bared with me so long to my incoherent rambles, but I played at Cheeks on Friday, and then I had a festival down in the Ozarks on Saturday, and I played the early slot though, so I had to leave ungodly early, but I'll get into that. Cheeks on Friday. So I guess that was the first live music they've had since the pandemic, and the owner and the lady he was with, super complimentary. They were into it like the whole time. He gave me a gift card to eat as like a tip over there, and I have another show in the books there, and he said he's open to booking me more. So kind of cool to have a spot in town again. Kind of some of them have fallen to the wayside to an extent, so it's nice to have a new spot. And just somebody who seems to genuinely like what I'm doing. He had seen me over at Schooners maybe a month back or something. So, but yeah, I was the first live music they'd done since the pandemic. So wasn't a super busy night, but it was fun. I had a good time. It was early. I had a lot of errands to run for the Saturday thing, since I had to get up at 5 a.m. to drive for 5 hours. So yeah, it was a little bit of a stressful day starting by 6, but it was nice to be done at 9, and then, be able to come, not have to drive very far. And then since I had to get up so early the next day, just get everything ready to rock. Lola's gonna come, but she wasn't feeling good, so she decided to stay home. So I ended up doing a solo trip. I got an Airbnb, which interesting, but I probably would have just drove back if I would have known I was going by myself. But hard to predict those things sometimes, and I already paid for it, and I couldn't cancel it. So, but anyhow, so I got there about an hour and a half early. They were doing like an open mic, but it just wasn't. Nobody was there. I mean, that's kind of as early as the open mic was, and when I played, I mean, there were a lot of people that were out like with their tents selling stuff, like kind of a farmer's market-esque type thing. But I mean, it was a few passerbyers. There was like an older couple to my right that kind of sat down and watched it. I listened to the whole thing. But my camera, the one that I'm recording on now, overheated immediately, and I got 45 seconds of film on that. And then my other one, I couldn't get to set right, so could hear it. It was right by a monitor that was way too loud, so it sounds a little rough audio wise. To listen pretty low volume, but I could kind of get the gist. But it didn't have its own stand, so it just kept falling kind of, and so I wasn't in the frame for a lot of it, is what I'm trying to say, in a lot of words, I guess. But I could listen to it, so I had the 5-hour drive home the next day that I it was an hour set of all originals. So I listened to it. I think it sounded pretty good. I mean, there were some moments that were a little uncomfortable. The stage was a little bit wobbly, like when I was bouncing on the kick drum, like the cajon. It was a cajon I wasn't really super used to also. So I was like, those things combined was a little weird. But I think, for as many people that weren't there when I was walking around later, there were a handful of people that came up to me, and the one thing they said for all of them that all had in common was, hey, this guy's a really good singer. They would like tell the person next to him, he played the first set today. It's like, I don't, maybe not the most normal compliment I get, but I'll take it for sure. But the goal isn't necessarily to win, get a bunch of people to love me this time. It's hopefully to show the people, the management, the booking people, that I could show up and do a good job, even at a harder time slot, long drive and all that. So hopefully, since some of the people were saying good things, that they would hear about that and be open to booking me maybe some better time slots. But we'll see what happens. You never really know with any of it. It's all a guessing game. But then I stayed for a long time. I tried playing some guitar over by the lake, but that kind of, or I guess it's a river. It wasn't a lake. It was a river that ran right across. It was like a campsite, essentially. I had a little stage and some tents with some different things, food, and like earrings or crystals, or like a hippie farmer's market type thing. And, I got to listen to some of the other music. I ended up playing guitar with a fellow that had seen me put mine away, and we jammed for a little bit. That was kind of fun, just kind of a random, doesn't really happen to me a whole lot, or you just kind of put in that situation, and then it's like trying to put all of that theory stuff that I teach into place, see if I could crack it. And it's kind of nice when it works, when the things that I tell my students about, playing with other people and stuff, used all those same tools to just kind of jump in. And he wasn't bad. He was pretty good himself, as far as playing goes, and just kind of following the music, not really a lot of verbal communication. So it's nice to, like I said, put that stuff into real practice and see where it falls short and all that, and get you a new perspective on kind of that, because I think that one of the number one things you want as a guitar player, and when you get past a certain point, is to be able to just sit down and play with people and not have to be like, what chord was that? What key are you in? All that stuff that, is this the chorus? All those things that, they get in the way, a little bit, I think, is the bottom line. But anyway, so, wasn't, an amazing set, but it was cool to be out of Illinois playing original songs in a different state, and for people that actually are music fans and actually go to events for music. So the guy after me was really cool. He had like this crazy Bob Marley voice, like raspy though. But anyway, I digress. I had a good time. It was a little weird as far as I booked the Airbnb, and it was like this cabin in the middle of nowhere, which would have been, it's actually in Arkansas. So it was about a 30-minute drive. I was in the Ozarks in Missouri and drove to Arkansas for the Airbnb, but I wasn't expecting it to be all like windy hills that in the dark. I probably stayed till almost 9 before I couldn't, I'd gotten up at 5 a.m. and drove, and then played a set, and then, just muddled around as long as I could before I was too sleepy. On 2 hours total, I think, of sleep, 2-3 hours, something like that. And anyhow, so it was just like this cabin in the middle of nowhere, and it felt like I might get murdered, but I didn't, so that's good. Pretty much just slept a little bit, all those windy roads, and that it was a really nice day out the next morning, and driving home those same roads, but in the daytime. Very pretty. It's very like a nice, relaxing drive. Uh, windows down. I was listening to Wolf's album, and because I didn't have any service, so that was pretty much my only option. But I was glad that it was. I would have probably preferred to give them the streams on Spotify than listen to the physical CD. But it was nice to have the CD because I couldn't really pull up any other music, and just cruising up and down these crazy hills. There's some, you get up kind of high. You can kind of get like this cool overlook. I mean, driving isn't like the most fun thing for me, but sometimes you do find yourself in situations that are very pleasant like that. It wasn't on a time crunch. It's like I didn't enjoy any of the trip to the Ozarks because I was worried about getting there on time, worried about where I'm going. I'd already ran all these roads, and didn't have to be any. If I got lost, I would just use my GPS to find a different way. It was a lot less stressful. And, it's like a 2-lane highway, not an interstate, and going up and down, swerving. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of a fun cruise ultimately, and I enjoyed it. And then you get to about St. Louis, and it's like flat. you don't I don't know. I feel like I don't really think about how flat it is where I'm at until there's been a few times where I've been in Iowa where I like you really hit some hills sometimes. You're like, oh, because before I think it was Illinois, Bloomington compared to Colorado, all those crazy drives in Colorado that I did for those tours. And I just kind of assume everything in this Midwest is exactly like Bloomington and the central Illinois kind of area, Indiana even. And then, Missouri's not that far. It's about a 5-hour drive south, but you get to these rolling hills, and it's the perfect time of year. The leaves started to change a little bit, and it was just nice. It just put me in a good headspace. I felt present in the moment, maybe for the first time that whole month. And then you're back to, after St. Louis, you're back to just that interstate driving, which is boring, very uneventful, not less nerve-wracking, because there can be some moments driving those crazy ones that you're like, probably should be going a little slower, or even though the cars behind you are like passing you, but because they're used to those drives. Anyhow, so it's been a crazy long month. I have 2 songs that I think are done. I think my next big projects, the way I've been kind of doing it has been I release a single, and then I'll release some live songs, release a single. So I got 2 singles to release that I'm going to space out. I'll do 31st of this month, and then maybe around Christmas I'll do maybe early December I'll do the Wings song. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to do, I think, a big I had a lot of time to think on the drive, so I've been thinking about what I had a buddy of mine, Trevor. He was telling me he thought my live game was, above average, I guess, and it got me thinking like it'd be nice to have a live album where I had all the say and all the control, and shoot it like a concert, but in the studio kind of, and mix and master it the right way with everything multi-tracked and all that. So it's gonna not be a cheap, you just wait for other people to do it for you, and then the stuff just doesn't happen, or it does happen, it doesn't really happen the way you want it to happen. So having a little bit more control over everything will be nice. I can actually get it to sound the way I want it to, and just treat it like a live show, not necessarily like individual songs. Like I would like to do it that way as well, but I want to do it like a full YouTube concert, maybe half hour, 45, even an hour if I could get that many. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm in the beginning stages of kind of thinking about how this is all going to go down. But the goal would be, a multimedia project. So it would be like and I want to do the full one-man bands. That was the last acoustic live EP I released, which is out now, by the way. Bombsight, forgot to mention that, the Bombsight Sessions that I did, 4 acoustic tracks. just something to, hopefully keep people excited about stuff I'm doing. I don't know. I just, like I said earlier, I have a lot of theories, but I don't really know if any of them are correct. But so, while I'm waiting to get a new single done and release that live stuff, so that's the idea here. But I want to be a lot more intricate, and I want to do like every part of my current setup, which I have yet to do. So with my whole extra pedal board and the organ machine and stuff, and just like really do it right. And I don't know. I think it's a cool idea to try to get it like, because I mean, if nothing else, if it doesn't really get me new fans and people to, that'll be a moment captured of like, this was when I was playing like this, and these were the songs that I were doing at this time. And I mean, I'm planning on doing mostly originals. Maybe I'll sneak a cover or two in there. But anyhow, that's the next thing on the agenda. So that's what I'm thinking about. That's the idea. I'm forming 2 singles about to come out, and then hopefully I'll be working on that in the meantime, as well as tracking some stuff for the next single, kind of simultaneously. And so then I'll release the full live thing, the live EP, one-man band, in the interim between when I'm done with Wings, or when it's out to everybody, and the next single. That might take me a little bit longer. I'm trying to do Syrup next, I think, which is one that I've wanted to do for a long time, but getting it just right is going to be hard, and it's definitely going to be more of a studio kind of production. So anyhow, I think that's all. I appreciate anybody who takes time to listen as always, and I will catch you all next time. All right, have a good one.